Welcome to the DA Wrestling All-In Review. But
All in.
first, we're going to dedicate this episode to the memory of Sid Udy, or otherwise known as Psycho Sid, who passed away this afternoon.
Or Sid Vicious and Sid Justice,
Yes.
the master
Or
and ruler
just Sid.
of the world.
Yes. Andrew, what's your favorite Sid match?
You know what? Taker versus Sid at WrestleMania was good.
Oh, the one where Sid shit his pants?
Yeah, that was a good one. But I think one of the ones I liked the most was kind of when he lost though to Shawn Michaels at San Antonio at the Rumble.
Right.
I always like that. I was a big fan of Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Psycho Sid, whatever you want to call it. I was always a fan of Psycho Sid. Like, I just love the whole like, you just scream power bomb and stuff like that. It's great.
Right. Yeah.
That. Yeah, it's the air freshener. You know.
So for me, it would be like, I mean, I was a big Sid guy, but for me, it's Sid and Shawn at Survivor Series, where Sid won the title.
I always like the night. It was actually kind of more of a face turn for Shawn Michaels when Shawn Michaels was like poking at Sid, and then Sid just powerbombed like 3 times, which caused Kevin Nash to come out.
Yeah,
I was like that moment. I always like Sid Vicious. Sid
you want to talk another like big Sid moment. Taker was champion after that Mania.
Yeah.
And Sid goes away for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then just randomly at the beginning of a Raw, he just pops back up.
Yeah.
And the roof just comes off the place. And they end up setting up the main event that night was Sid versus Taker.
Oh, I think I remember that. Was that the one where they had at the time, because I know it wasn't long. They had like the almost like the light up ramp. It was like lit up.
So actually, to give you a more of a context here, this was like late June 97.
Okay.
They had just started the seeds that would turn into the Kane story.
Okay, yeah.
Like Taker had been forced to side with Paul Bearer.
Yep.
And Mankind, and then that's where Sid came back. But yeah, and then also we'd be remiss if we didn't shout out his super surprise return to Raw in 2012 after not being on Raw since 1997, where he took on Heath Slater.
Wow. He was still the master, the ruler of the world then. Still is now.
Yeah. I actually just found out one of his last matches on the Indies was with Eddie Kingston.
Nice.
I just saw a clip of it like a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Passed away of cancer. That one hits a little home. But
fuck cancer.
All the best to Sid Vicious, to him and his family, and hope they're doing okay in this time. It's not an easy time.
That all being said, we're going to get to the all-in review. I did not get a chance to watch the pre-show. I do know that Jamie Hayter came back though.
Yeah.
And it looks like she's gunning for Saraya right now.
Yeah, that looks like that's gonna be the first feud for her. Is her and Saraya, which is totally fine with it. I mean, you gotta continue that story because she left at the height of that whole thing too. Saraya won the title last year at All In, which caused Jamie Hayter to leave too because of her problem.
She tore her ACL.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I have, for the viewers at home, I have a double-sided 8.5 by 11 page full of notes from All In, and it could have been more, but it started off with the 4-way trios ladder match.
Yeah.
House of Black. Uh, House of Black, the Patriarchy, um, Blackpool Combat Club with Pac,
Yeah,
and Jesus, there's a fourth team, and I
the
completely
Guns,
forgot.
the Bang Bang
The
Gang.
Guns. Oh, Bang Bang Gang. That's
Yeah,
it. So honestly, this was just like a spot show clusterfuck that you would expect from AEW at this point.
I was I did a little bit of predictions on the last week's Dynamite episode, and I totally was wrong because I chose the House of Black because I'm a House of Black guy. I want House of Black to win. Sue me for it. Um, but I'm not upset with Pac with Blackpool Combat Club. I'm not upset with that. I'm actually quite happy with
Es-
that.
especially if Penta and Phoenix are leaving.
They are, and I wouldn't be him going to Black BCC wouldn't be a bad thing either. Considering right
No,
now, I don't know how long John's out for.
no, and I saw like we'll get to it later. I saw like somebody say like it's weird. It's weird to not see John in that celebration with Brian.
Yeah, for sure.
So you know, yeah, we'll get to that later, but I don't know how long John's out, but I think that it's about time we see a new member.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I don't think Brian Danielson's really. I mean, he's still associated with them, just not as much.
right, and I think that so I mean we're talking about all this to basically like Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler won the trios titles in this match, um, and we're once again selling the when is Luchasaurus going to turn on Christian Cage story.
Yeah, we'll see what happens
Um,
there. Of
well, I'll get to more of that in a minute because there
course, we
was more
will.
progression.
Oh, I
There was
know.
more progression to that later on in the card.
I know exactly what happened there.
But in the meantime, our next match was Mariah May and Tony Storm
Yeah,
for the AEW Women's Title.
I was right.
And yeah,
I'll say I was right.
I think everybody saw this coming. Mariah May ended up winning with the Storm Zero.
Yeah, and I like how she
Uh,
posts herself later on with a little video saying, "Effing told you."
well, that's it, right? Like,
Yeah,
and for her to get the big win in front of the home faithful.
yeah.
Um, a lot of home games on this card.
Yes, there
R-
were.
A lot of home games.
Well, yeah, but a
Uh,
lot of people tend to forget too that like a lot of people who are in wrestling who are very popular right now in the WWE and AEW aren't really
are
from the
European.
aren't well they're European or not from the US.
Yeah,
Like when you think about it,
100%.
a lot of them are either from Canada, Mexico, or you're somewhere in Europe, mostly UK.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Um, so I mean, yeah, we all saw this coming. I think you see Tony Storm go away for a bit.
which is fine.
Uh,
There's nothing she's worked she's a hell of a character. She
the
worked hard the
way
entire time.
so I guess I'll back up a little bit. The story of the match was obviously involving the shoe, and it got to a point where Tony Storm could have used the shoe on Mariah, and then just screams that she couldn't do it,
Yep.
and Mariah, you know, blindsides her and then hits Storm Zero out of nowhere. And um, anyways, moving on.
Yep.
My next note here is Jericho sings himself to the ring like last year.
Yay.
Um, I mean, Fozzy, I would hazard a guess is like one of those bands that like sound great in the studio.
Yeah.
Don't really like listening to Jericho sing live.
It's also Wembley. I mean, it's Wembley.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if their sound system is as good as say like Oasis's, but sure it's decent.
Right, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
anyways, that leads into Jericho versus Hook
Yeah,
for the FTW title under
yeah,
FTW rules.
yeah. Pretty much called this one too. Hook
So
winning was a no
actually,
brainer.
so actually, um, uh, both Big Bill and Brian Keith beat up Hook right at the start of the match. It was like 3-on-1,
Yeah,
and then eventually Hook turned the tables. So, anyways, yeah, like last year, Jericho brought himself to the ring.
yep.
Um, I mean, but that leads to Jericho versus Hook, and Big Bill and Brian Keith both attacked Hook right off the jump, and eventually Hook turns the tables. End of the match, very simple. Taz comes out from behind the commentary table, puts Brian Keith in the Taz mission, and Hook chokes out Jericho with red rum, and Hook's the FTW champion for like what, a fourth or fifth time now.
Something like that. Yeah, like they need to stop. Like I understand he's like like I understand that he's Taz's kid, and I get that completely,
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
But here's the thing, though. What you're doing is you're kind of like putting him in a box.
Yeah.
Let him go for the international title. Have a match with Osprey. See how he does.
Or you know
Okay.
what? I would almost think like the TNT title is of less significance than the international title right now.
Sure.
But yeah, even so, have him go after Jack Perry
Yeah.
again.
Like do that. Like have him get out of that box. I don't think he needs to be in that box anymore. You've established him as a person. I mean, unless you're waiting for like Samoa Joe to come back and what's his name?
Shibata.
Shibata to come back, then fine. But Shibata
Um,
came back a while back and you have nothing sense because Hook just came back like a couple weeks ago.
right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
there's no point.
unless you have like Hook and Shibata are going to go after the tag titles.
Which I'd be fine with too.
But actually, speaking of the tag titles, that was up next. The triple threat tag match
And
between
we got a debut on that one, didn't we?
we did, and I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
It was FTR versus the Acclaimed versus the Young Bucks,
Yep.
and really good match. They had so at one point I actually wrote it down here. There was one point of the match where Matt Jackson and Max Caster did the BT trigger to Dax,
Yep.
and then Anthony Bowens and Cash Wheeler did the big rig to Nick Jackson.
I was totally wrong though when I said the Acclaim were going to win.
Yeah. Young Bucks
Uh,
end up retaining
yeah.
off the BT trigger.
Yep.
Um,
Good match though. That was a really good
it
match though.
honestly, like this whole card, front to back, except for one match that I'll get to later,
Sure.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thoroughly entertained over the 4 hours I spent watching this morning.
Nice.
Um,
So, but
but
where can
after
the viewers who haven't seen it see? Go find that, by the way.
I found it on Daily Motion,
Okay.
or you can not steal and
Wow.
buy it off of Fight TV.
Fair enough. By the way,
But
guys, talk about stealing. Like, make sure you like, share, subscribe down below there. Small click for you, big click for us there. Right? You go a long way here. Make sure you follow us on Spotify and Podbean. Thank you very much there for all your support. But the Grizzly young veterans showed up.
you stole my thunder, dude. I was
Oh,
just
I'm
getting to
so
that.
sorry.
But yeah, so James Drake and Zach Gibson, the Grizzled Young Vets, came in afterwards. They challenged the Young Bucks and attacked FTR.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that looks like that's probably the direction. Um,
Yeah. Looks like they took the time to grow the. Looks like Zach Gibson just took the time to grow his beard back.
he still can't grow any hair though.
Nope, but at least he looks better than what he did in NXT.
That's true. That's true.
So
Which leads us to the Casino Gauntlet. And
yeah, let's.
your boy here actually wrote down every single entrant in this match.
Well,
So,
let's just get.
as you say,
I
pitter
chose
patter,
Hank.
let's get at it, right?
I chose Hangman Page for this one, and I was dead wrong.
Y- Yeah, but you weren't far off.
No, I wasn't.
So first of all, Orange Cassidy comes out to a Mr. Bean inspired entrance.
Nice.
Uh, but to meet him in the ring to open up the um, was Okada.
Yeah,
Um, what title does he have right now?
Continental.
Right. That thing is so irrelevant right now, even though it's on the shoulder of Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, it's because he doesn't have matches for it really on Dynamite at all. It's very rarely
Right.
does.
So they did this cool spot where like Orange Cassidy want to be friends again with Okada,
Yeah.
and they hugged only for Okada to kick him in the dick and then give him the finger.
Well, I mean,
Um,
he's really
but
playing up that heel.
number three, and I would argue one of the biggest surprises of the night
Yep.
was the first match in 13 years for Nigel McGuinness.
And he got a massive standing ovation for Nagaris as well.
Yeah, and you know what? He looked like he could still go. I mean, hit a Tower of London.
Yep.
He hit the Jawbreaker clothesline. I wonder if he starts to become active again. I think John Moxley might not use that anymore, or Kyle O'Reilly, because both of them have been known to use it.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out.
Speaking of Kyle O'Reilly, he was out next.
Yep.
And then another surprise at number five was fresh off his G1 Climax win last weekend was Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah. And him and Orange Cassidy went at it a few times a little bit in that match too.
Yes, yes. Roderick Strong was number six.
Yep.
Mark Briscoe was number seven.
Okay.
Hangman was number eight. Jeff Jarrett nine,
Yeah, my
and
pick to win.
a debuting Ricochet at 10.
Oof. I mean, it was
Um,
inevitable for this to happen. All the cards pointed to Ricochet going to AEW. So,
well, for those that listened to the SmackDown review on Saturday, um, I did briefly talk about Ricochet reportedly signing a multi-year deal.
yep.
Um, so yeah, it's um, so Ricochet comes in. It's the greatest hits, springboard, shooting star press. Crazy dives and stuff like that is only Ricochet can do. Christian
Absolutely.
Cage comes out. Christian Cage comes out at 11, and Luchasaurus under the name Luchasaurus
Yeah,
comes
that's
out
kind of weird.
comes out at 12. Threatens to choke slam Christian Cage, but instead choke slams. I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly, and
Yeah.
Christian Cage picked up the win.
Yeah, I don't understand the meaning of Christian Cage winning this in the slightest. It makes to me it just makes no sense.
I think it's just a
Um,
reward for the great work he's put on the last
I'm not saying he
year and a
hasn't put on,
half.
I'm not saying he hasn't put on good work. I'm
Yeah,
just saying it makes to me it makes
I
no
think
sense.
Hangman winning was too telegraphed. I think
Yeah,
that's why they
but
might have went a different direction.
yeah, but considering what happened in the main event now, it kind of almost makes sense when you think about
Well,
it.
exactly. If Swerve was retaining, I think you would have seen Hangman win this.
I
But
think a lot of people thought he was going to, but we'll get to that shortly.
yeah, so that leads into the last half of this card, starting with Will Osprey and MJF.
Best entrance ever.
I wouldn't say best entrance ever, but it's my favorite one this year.
It was
Uh,
a good entrance.
so Will Osprey got Roger Craig Smith to do a voiceover, reprise his role as Ezio Auditore from the original three Assassin's Creed games,
Yep.
um, and basically kind of christening uh, Will Ospreay as like this new age assassin.
Yeah.
And so this was done in partnership with Assassin's Creed Shadows in stores on November 15th.
Which is also for those people out there who probably have not played, is the second game of the new series of the Assassin's Creed games. They released the first one, Mirage. a while back, and this is the
That was the one about
Shadows.
Egypt, right?
No, that was Origins. That was the previous set.
Okay,
This one here goes back. Is kind of a continuation. It goes back to the original Assassin's Creed. So they're in not Babylon, but the Grand Bazaar,
okay,
Arabia. And the next one after this is supposed to, after Shadows is supposed to be like almost like a witchcraft kind of one.
gotcha.
So actually, the Shadows looks pretty decent. It's like if you like samurais and all that stuff and ninjas in Japan, that's what this one's
I
going to be about.
I think that immediately though, I know I hate this broke out into a video game conversation, but
No, it
uh,
happens.
immediately when I saw the premise of this game, the first thing that popped into my head was Ghost of Tsushima.
Fair, yeah, fair enough.
And I think you're gonna get a lot of comparisons
We'll see
between
what
the two.
happens. We'll see what happens. I wasn't a big
But
fan of that game, but
you watch this entrance from Will Osprey, and
I saw it.
you tell me that man is not one of the biggest stars in the world.
He's 100% the biggest star, the biggest stars in the world. Played easily top five wrestler right now on the planet, if not number one.
And kudos to AEW, like the presentation on this show was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, MJF comes out in a top hat. I put troll entrance because he gets into the ring and an American flag drops down, and instead of stars, it's MJF's face.
Yep.
Okay. And also, it was accompanied by these red, white, and blue streamers that would stick around for the rest of the event because they got caught.
Fair enough.
One of my other notes is streamers from MJF entrance still hanging. LOL. um,
Uh, so MJF, good match between these two, probably one of the best matches of the card. Uh,
so
MJF,
Osprey kicks out of a belt shot.
yep.
First of all, Osprey kicked out of like everything, and
There was no way Osprey wasn't winning this title in Wembley.
oh yeah, no, we all thought originally when he signed with AEW, okay, he's leaving All In as AEW World Champion.
I think that was probably the most consensus out there at the time.
But I think I like what they ended up doing.
Yep.
Um, with the Danielson story.
Yeah.
But Daniel Garcia, ref goes down at one point, and MJF has one of those old school, like, white taped foreign objects.
So-called brass knucks.
Right. And right as he goes to hit Osprey, a hooded figure stops him. It's revealed to be Daniel Garcia, who, you know, just distracts long enough for Osprey to hit the hidden blade and just nails him with a tiger driver.
I called it in the I called it. I want to say I called it in the prediction, like the predictions part of AW Dynamite, that he was going to win with it. He called it. They called it on the show. And
Yeah.
MJF said, "You can't beat me unless you hit the tip of the tire driver." They literally called it.
And like Danielson just blatantly telling Osprey to stop being a bitch and use it.
Yep.
But one of the cool spots in the match was MJF countered a Stormbreaker into oh god, he countered it into something, and it was really awesome. But the best counter of the match was early in the match. Osprey hits a Sasuke special, that handspring backflip over the ropes.
Yep.
So he goes back to it later on in the match. MJF catches him and hits him with a tombstone on the outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Honestly, great match. And again, you look at how this crowd treats Will Osprey. I get it's in England, but you tell me that man is not one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world right now.
He is the best in the world.
So that, and then after the match, Osprey refused to touch the American Championship,
Yep.
and Christopher Daniels comes into the ring and gives Osprey back the International Championship.
Which was also going to happen to you. That was kind of predictable.
Yep.
So that's fine.
So,
It's good.
Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. All I wrote here was boring. Moné retains.
Uh, yeah, like I kind of thought this. No, I've been saying if everybody's people who've listened to the Dynamite stuff for the past number of weeks, though, ever since Camille showed up, my pick right now to beat Mercedes Monet will be Camille. I don't. It was not that I don't think Britt Baker should have the title. It's just that the way they're going right now is they want to build, I think, with Camille up a little bit more to eventually take the title away. Almost a very similar to an MJF Wardlow thing.
Yeah.
So, look, Mercedes Monet, unfortunately, the cold hard truth is right now, she's not as good as she was back in WWE. Now, whether or not it is because of time off, because of her injuries, or because maybe she just does has other interests in mind, and she just wants to do wrestling still as much as she loves it, but do something different too at the same time. But her matches, her promos, all those things aren't as good as they were in WWE when she was like Sasha Banks. No offense to people
Yeah.
out there who are fans of Mercedes Monet. It's just the fact is if you look at the if you look at the actual charts between both of them, both characters, Sasha Banks was way more not necessarily popular, but way her mic skills were much better. Her wrestling there was much better. It's it's almost night and day.
Yeah. So I have half a page of notes for the last two matches. That's how much happened here. So we go into Jack Perry versus Darby Allin in a coffin match.
Darby Allin lost.
He did, but before he did that, he got tied up and thrown off the stage.
Put in a body bag.
Yeah, Perry put him in a body bag, which helped him put in the coffin.
Yep.
Young Bucks come out after the match, and the Young Bucks come out after the match, and they try to light the coffin on fire, where Sting makes the save, coming out to seek and destroy.
Yep.
I know you're a big Metallica guy. Hits a double Scorpion Death Drop to the Young Bucks, and they all walk away happy.
Yep.
Which leads to the main event: Swerve Strickland, title versus career. They even named the match Final Countdown. Bryan Danielson, did you get a chance to catch his entrance?
No, I've not seen it. I'm assuming he
Okay.
did the final countdown, but I know
He
Brie
did do
Bella
the
was
final.
there.
He did the final countdown, but
Yeah.
before that, he wrote that they played this video that made it seem like this was going to be his final time out, whether whether he wins or loses.
Well, the fact that he was wrestling without a contract, kind of on a handshake deal, yeah.
So all I put here is Bryan Danielson goosebumps. Okay. The first time they used Final Countdown was when we were in Toronto last year.
Yep.
And they've only used it a handful of times since, but like they made that such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so just goes over, hugs the kids, hugs the wife. 55,000 people screaming the Final Countdown. But in a really cool touch, okay? A Swerve entrance, okay?
Yep.
He's wrapped out by Bun B and another guy that I think is in his song. But for longtime fans of Ring of Honor, there was a man by the name of Jimmy Rave. He was the crown prince of the embassy. And he's now passed on, actually. He passed a few years ago. But Prince Nana was his manager. Prince Nana brings out the same jacket that Jimmy Rave used to wear and bestowed it upon Swerve. And
It's pretty
Swerve
cool.
walked down. Yeah, Swerve walked down in the ring with it. And as much as everyone was screaming Final Countdown, you still had 55,000 people screaming in Swerve's house. Okay.
He's look, top five wrestlers right now on the planet are probably Cody, Osprey, Swerve. At least those are top three. You could be Seth Rollins if you want to call it that. You can even say Drew McIntyre if you want. There's a lot. Top three though are probably Cody, well Daniel Bryan, but Bryan Danielson. So really, you look at Swerve,
Honestly,
Osprey.
I think like the top three actual performers in wrestling right now all reside in AEW. And it's Will
Osprey,
Osprey,
Swerve, and
it's
Bryan
Brian
Danielson.
Daniel. Yep, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
in terms of stars, then you got to throw in your Roman Reigns and stuff like that. But
yeah. But Reigns hasn't really done much this year too. Right now, I would even consider him in that top five right now. I mean, just based on the name alone, maybe top five of what he's
well,
done.
that's what I'm saying in terms of star power.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna read through this match of what I have written down. Then I'll
Sure.
get your thoughts.
Okay.
Okay. My first note here is Brian pulling out everything. He did a springboard front flip senton to the outside. Right after that, Swerve takes advantage and hits a Death Valley driver on the ring bell with the ref kind of distracted, and it busts open Brian Danielson. Swerve then drags Brian Danielson in front of where Bree and the kids are sitting,
Yeah.
starts stomping his head in. Brian starts to come back, hits a tiger suplex, then he hits one from the top rope. Brian goes for cattle mutilation, and Swerve counters that into the vertebraker.
Vertebraker.
The vertebraker.
Haven't that a bit.
He then proceeds to hit the Swerve stomp in 3 house calls. But Brian Danielson kicks out. And as Swerve is kicking him, he starts just no selling these kicks, but he keeps looking at his family and screaming, "I love you so much." And then just delivers this vicious slap,
Yeah.
right? That rocks Swerve. Only for Danielson to hit the Psycho knee, but Swerve no sells it.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, no, Danielson Danielson hit the Psycho, and Swerve backs up into the corner and then just walks out, just brushes it off. Comes back and hits big pressure on Brian Danielson.
Nice.
No one's ever kicked out of that move
Yeah.
until now. Brian Danielson kicks out of big pressure. Hangman then distracts Swerve, and Swerve kicks out of the Psycho knee.
Yeah.
And the end of the match has Brian hitting two more Psycho knees into the label lock, but he then transitioned into Pac's brutalizer, the Rings of Saturn with the neck crank.
Yep.
And Swerve taps out for the first time in his time with AEW. And that is it for All In.
Brian Danielson winning the title is well, I definitely didn't have him winning. I don't think anybody had him winning. Brian Danielson winning the title makes you wonder what AEW is going to be like going on Wednesday. Makes you wonder if it's going to be one of those win the title then retire things. Don't forget too, they did that with Sting.
Yeah.
Sting won the title. He probably should have went on his back. I don't think this is the same case though. Obviously, there is a massive age difference.
So I think you're gonna see Brian defend a couple of times before he eventually drops it and retires. Unless he just like flat out states, when I lose the title, I'm done.
Okay, so that being said, there, you think Brian goes? So, a couple questions here.
Yep.
Is it possible Danielson goes on a good title run only let's say Danielson goes on a title run, holds it for a year, all in rolls around. Osprey takes it off him next year.
I think Osprey takes it from him in Japan, January 5th.
Really?
There is if you're not gonna crown Osprey in England, there is no better place on the planet Earth to crown Will Osprey than in Tokyo, Japan,
Fair enough.
at the Tokyo Dome.
I think Osprey's that takes the title off of
And
Danielson.
I think we're gonna get an Okada Danielson 3
For the title.
for the title.
And I think Danielson wins that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Okada's ready for that title yet in AEW. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But all in, like most of like made like you can say what you want about AEW's Dynamite. A lot of people aren't the biggest fans of Dynamite. You can talk about fans there, not always there, not full house all the time. The one thing AEW does very, very well, which is WWE finally caught up on, is doing very good pay-per-views. They're a little longer than we complained about, but they're very good pay-per-views. They keep you entertained. I agree. Every time you watch them, they really do keep you entertained.
They can go on the long end. They really can. But you know, I'm glad that I watched it this morning and not like last night or something.
Yeah.
You know, because it's something I could just sit there, drink my coffee, you know, have a couple smokes, and
it also ends around 12:30 in the morning. 12:30 in the morning, anyway. So,
well, I mean, not
this
yesterday.
This is afternoon. So.
Yeah. So this started at 1:00, but all in all, my second favorite show of the year.
It's a good show.
My favorite show of the year so far is still WrestleMania Night 2.
It's hard to top that one.
Swerve and Danielson may have taken over as my match of the year over that insane cage match in New Japan. But I don't know. I'll have to watch some stuff back, and come December, we'll do a match of the year countdown.
We'll take a look and see. All in all, good show.
Absolutely. Until then, thank you all for listening. Stay tuned, because this is going to be a double upload on Monday, or Tuesday, sorry. Double upload Tuesday. Stay tuned for Raw, coming to you from wherever they are. Until then, that confused look on his face, that is 8%1982 on Instagram. Andrew DH down the road.
What the fuck?
Did you lose the screen or something?
Stupid show.